creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open door. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Every thought becomes so clear. From sea tunes and bubbling streams, waking up to brand new dreams. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversation.
Hey, good morning, guys. It is Saturday. I'm Melissa Houston, cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. And what that means is I help people like you figure out what they want to be when they grow up, and we get a plan together to do that. And I am excited about today. It is a little bit of a 2.0 for last week. If you were here, you probably remember we did something very comparable. But I think this is worth revisiting. And so bear with me if it sounds a little bit repetitive this week, but I really think it's going to be a new, fresh perspective on the same kind of concept. And so if you weren't here last week, I will just tell you we were doing Face the Facts, Fix the Future. I'm sorry, that was this week, right? Wait, where am I? Am I doing this right? Hold on, let me look. I'm awake, I promise, but I'm thinking, did I bring last week's forward? They're so comparable, I don't even remember. Anyway, let me get back to this. The truth is we just have to look at our life all the time. We have to face it. We have to document it. We have to track it, right? I think last week was actually a track it focus. Yeah, it was track or tolerate. And so face the facts, fix the future, for comparable, right? The Venn diagram, 99%. But I wanted to revisit it in a new way because while I did cover it, track or tolerate, what do you do once you wrote it down? There's more to it. We have to face what we have written down. And so it's kind of a 2.0, but it will be a standalone also. I just think there was so much still floating in my brain when I was thinking about the different topics that when I had created it and posted it, I looked at them side by side on my events page on my profile and I giggled. I was like, okay, we're still not done with this lesson. And guys, that's part of it, right? I got to face the facts. These are things still in my brain. And a lot of the time when I'm circling on a subject or a topic, I absolutely am aware that others may be doing the same thing with things they've already touched, tackled, approached, written down. It may just keep sticking in the brain sometimes. And when that happens, we need to face that too, right? It's a fact. It's happening. We can't get rid of it. And so I'm excited to dive into this topic. If you were here last week, let me know. I would love to know what your takeaways were, what you remember from the show, if anything. I want to say good morning to my friends as well. If you're not sure where to watch from, I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. YouTube seems to be the one that is kind of leading the way at this time because it has the least amount of glitches most consistently. But go make sure you're subscribing. I'm trying to reach a higher level on YouTube because truthfully, I don't want to just bank on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. It's where I grow. It's what I do. It's where I met all of these amazing people like Aaron Gibson, who did the entry song for the show. Good morning to him and his rest morning of just listening in. We got Alex coming in from Boston, very tired, up since 5 a.m. I have been up since 3:30. I was so excited I couldn't go back to bed. And I've just been kind of hanging out, waiting for the day to begin. Sun is just now coming up over the mountain, though. It's like this nice orange, but it's still very blue in the sky with it just being light, a little bit of light in there. Good morning, Lisa. I haven't seen you. Kenny, welcome. Nick, how are you? I read your comment on Gabe's testimonial, which is another thing to talk about. If you haven't seen it, guys, go find it. He's a former client of mine who promoted the show this morning, and it was just really kind, the words he used. And I saw Nick over there, and she said she had been she's getting ready to foster, and so I wanted to figure that out. David Pushkin, good morning. It's afternoon and evening from London. So good morning, glitter, bubbles, Venn diagrams. David understands the assignment here at Coffee Chats. And then Felipe, buddy. Guys, if you're not following him, make sure you do, because I'm live with him tomorrow morning doing another episode of Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. And we're talking leadership and how to move through that in spite of layoffs, during layoffs. Even leading yourself, right? There's so many ways we're going to tackle that tomorrow. And then Lauren Sermon. That's another one. Another one I just love to see on LinkedIn. Have the pleasure of saying she is a good friend. So guys, let's get into it. Face the facts, fix the future. You want to learn more about me? If you feel like I didn't tell you enough about me, go to documentthatAct.com. You can check it out while I talk. Okay. So let's get into this. For me, personal boundaries. That is the very first place I start when I'm looking at the facts. When I have to be honest with myself, and this is going to be about my personal honesty, I won't speak for you. This is just a me assignment. What I'm hoping is my lesson, my, ideas on how I move, the way I work around some of my hurdles might help you with your story. Doesn't mean that my story is your story. Doesn't mean that I am the end all be all solution for everything. I'm just sharing the tools I have in my toolbox, hoping it fits the parts you're working on, right? And the truth is I use some simple stuff. I like to use bubbles and circles and Venn diagrams. I like to put a little glitter on an assignment, something you've done already. Maybe I can just help sparkle it up, shine it up a little bit, get it to buff out so it looks exactly the way you hoped it would when you started. But the truth is when it comes down to what I do for myself and for others, it starts here, always. Because if I don't have boundaries, eventually it's going to hurt me in some way. It's going to hurt you in some way. If you've been around a while, if you've watched the promo opening, you notice the "You've Got Browed" photo. It's more than just a fun, cute gimmick. It's really something that my face does naturally. And it's part of the reason I prefer to stay off camera is because my face talks way more than I hope it would in some ways. But it's also the accountability of knowing myself enough to put boundaries in place if I know my face will say something to you I don't want it to, right? And so if I have a hard conversation, I have had times like in my marriage when I didn't want to see a furrowed brow or I didn't want to give a furrowed brow, we would just turn off the lights to talk. Just sit in black, dark. Nobody can see each other. We're just turning off everything because I want to hear the voice. I want to hear the words. I don't want to assume, right? And so that was a boundary we set because we kept running into a hurdle. We kept assuming what that face was about to say, think, feel, assuming on the other end. And so we set a boundary and it was personal to us. Sometimes the boundary can look like just saying no to a timeline, right? No, I cannot add another thing to my plate. Saying yes when the capacity is gone is not a good way to set a boundary. If you're burning yourself out for the sake of others, it's not going to last, not for long, because we need motivation for us. It is very hard to move for others forever without some kind of ROI or return. Now, this is again me talking from me, but I don't care if it's the kids smiling while they're chewing the dinner. That is enough, right? That makes me happy. That may refill my cup. But saying, yes, I want to go take you out to dinner just because you don't like my food after you threw a fit. I had a bad day. We're not in the good communication. So that's not going to work for me, right? My mom said dinner is dinner. My mom was very kind in a lot of ways. I mean, I still hate goulash. I can't eat it because of her. Those big chunks of tomatoes were my least favorite thing as a kid. But beyond that one meal, my mom really was kind enough to skip the things I didn't want on my plate. And she would add extras of the things I loved. She would buy more peas and less goulash supplies, right? I didn't get stewed tomatoes as a side dish because I didn't enjoy it. Now, me setting that boundary as a child was cool. Her respecting the boundary was cool. It taught me I was allowed to set boundaries. And so we're going to talk about a lot of this, but it also comes down to whether you do or do not let distractions override your priorities. Because I can have every intention of doing the thing my kiddo loves for dinner. But if I move too quickly, I might forget, hey, this kid doesn't like this item, and I added it anyway. I remember a time where one of my kiddos hates beans, just doesn't like the sensation of the pop when they're chewed. And I thought, okay, that's a weird thing. But at the same time, who am I to judge? I'm a weirdo. It's cool. We like this. And so I try to avoid that. Well, that day I was making a pasta salad. I wanted something quick, take and go. And it was in the pasta. And I just felt really bad because I was like, man, usually I would just dish out some for the kiddo, then add it in for everybody else who likes it. Easy enough. You know, it's one extra scoop or two before I finish my job. Responding to the boundary set for the kiddo. Small things. But you know what? When I forgot, I felt bad because the kiddo wasn't seen in the same way, right? And that distraction, that busyness took away from my priority of not making my kiddos feel the way my mom did by accidentally forgetting to put tomatoes and that sort of thing, right? And I know it's a silly concept, guys, but I'm sure your parents made you eat something you weren't excited about. I'm sure you've had this conversation with your kids. I'm sure you've watched others do it if it wasn't you. It's been in the movie somewhere, right? You're going to sit at that table till your dinner's done. We've seen it. What are those boundaries in your life? What is that you're going to work until this time or you don't get a vacation? You're going to take 10 million steps today or you don't get to sit down for 10, 15 minutes. You're going to work 57 jobs because you need to retire in 2 years. That's cool, but are you going to be left? Is there any you left in 2 years when you're done working? Right? And so you got to really balance that for yourself. Are you guys with me? Are you hearing me? Are you awake? And the other thing is carrying tasks that are not yours. Sometimes if you know you are a busy human because you can't remember all the things and you can't beat yourself up and it can't just be all boundaries because life happens. Can you delegate? Can you have some accountability to reflect with the person to say, hey, I'm hearing you need my help. Maybe my help can be helping you get organized enough to tackle this alone. Maybe you can help me when I'm in the kitchen, Just go, hey, mom, don't forget those beans are not my favorite. I don't know, right? It depends on how important that is. And I'm using that example. I would tell, he would just tell me, kids you forget one time to take them out and they'll go, hey, mom, don't. And I love that they felt confident enough to do that. But when I look at children who can set boundaries, when I look at them and I see them trying to use their voice, I watch the adults in the room. And I do this for a few reasons. One, we're the leaders of the youth. So how we respond to them setting their boundaries, how we respond to them having questions about our boundaries matters. If you tell an employee, hey, you get a 30-minute lunch and 2 10-minute breaks throughout the day, and they ask a question about, okay, so when do I get those 10-minute breaks? And your answer isn't kind or receiving. If you're like, I don't know, whenever we give them to you, you're really setting a standard for your leadership, right? And I want you to think about that with the people around you, whether you're leading younger people, whether you're leading people who are wanting to become you in their career or their role. Maybe they just want to emulate you because they see you online and they just like what you do. It doesn't matter why they're in your circle or why they're around you. People watch whether we give them permission or not. As soon as you leave your house, people can observe what you're doing. If you share from your house, people can observe. Anything they can observe, they can either want to ridicule or emulate. And if they're going to not be mean, if they're not going to troll, if they're not going to do those things, then they're likely going to assess and apply what you do well. And so being able to help, but also not burn yourself out. Coffee chats is the way I love to do this. I cannot be everywhere all at once. I cannot coach 15,000 people on LinkedIn. And I'm not saying they're all beating down my door, but even 150 people on LinkedIn, 15 people genuinely coached by one person who does everything I do is hard. So even myself in my business, in every business or facet or profession I'm working in, which are many, I have to have boundaries on time, on place, on who has to pay and when. And so this is my free zone for sure. Every time I'm here, it's free. Anybody can show up and anybody can take part. And that's something I give because I wanted to protect the give back also. It's a boundary for me. I can't go too long without hosting the show. I will take breaks when I need it because it is giving. It is something I can do when my cup is full. If my cup gets empty, I stop. That's a boundary. I will pause. I might take a month off. Usually, Lauren and I have been talking about this for years now, but we go through cycles. She's just kind of trickling back in now where she's been on break. That's beautiful. We do not live on LinkedIn. LinkedIn allows us to have some life here, but this is not life. This is just a place we share bits of it, right? And setting that boundary. Social media is not your life, right? This is just a facet of who you are. This is not everything. And I don't want you to build a life where you think that being cool on the internet is the way to go. The real takeaway for me, again, for me, talking to Melissa, little Melissa, or whoever you are out there that looks like me, feels like me, wants to, aligns with this idea. You have to set those boundaries. You have to identify with what really matters to you in your life, and then make sure you don't go too far from that. I want to say, yay, CCC tomorrow. Let me see here. Lauren says she hasn't been here in forever, but wanted to listen. And I'm so glad you came. I get to talk to her, and it's so great. But guys, it really is about taking care of yourself. And she's somebody who's doing some great work on that. Nick says, my boundaries definitely change depending on my bandwidth. It's not just about protecting myself, but the other party too. It's not cool to commit them back out. At least we can give as much as notice as possible. And you know what? That's really true. I love when we're assessing, right? Because if I push myself beyond where I want to, as soon as something goes wrong that day, maybe I skip lunch to help you instead of doing lunch because it's the only time I can really steal away for you. If I do that, it's going to cost me later. I'm going to get hangry. My body wants a certain amount of protein at a certain amount of time, or it really doesn't function well. And I've learned this about myself. Personal boundary is knowing that I have to make sure I'm eating and taking care of me before I take care of you. And sometimes that means, hey guys, no, I know you need my help. Go over here to YouTube, go to ChatGPT and ask it the same question, because there's no real value in me having to communicate that. That's a simple thing, right? If they say, what if somebody said, how do you convert a Word document to a PDF? Look, don't waste Melissa's time for that, right? I can redirect them. And so think about those little things in your life where you can just say, I would love to help, but here's a resource, because there's a lesson in the resource as well. When you teach them to ask the same question to like Google, it's so silly, but how many people do you know will literally go and ask a room a question, a social media question that Google would have brought them in 8 seconds? And it's not a big deal. I know they're comment starters, right? They're trying to get some engagement, but what if that is your standard operating procedure? What if that becomes your default? What if you turn that leadership of, here, I'm just going to start conversations on the internet, and then you bring it into a meeting, and then now you're asking pretty silly questions, and not always, but pretty silly questions that could be solved in another way when you have everybody there, right? Set boundaries on your time. Set boundaries on how you utilize it. Let me see what we got in the comments here. Jay says fixing the future can be in jeopardy wherever the news takes us. And, the news is what we make it. We will write our story either way. We can do a lot to change what's happening in front of us if we get moving. Jay says his boundary is, if you will not respect me, I will not respect you back. Sorry to say. And see, I'm not going to let somebody move me away from who I want to be. If I say I want to be Mr. Rogers and Betty White and Google in a blender, then I got to maintain my boundaries. And sometimes that comes with removing people from your life. Anybody who makes me feel like I'm Oscar the Grouch instead of Big Bird either needs to get out of my way because I got to go get lunch and I'll be right back. Please hold. Or they need to just step to the side, because truthfully, if you take me outside of who I want to be, you don't get to stay long, because it's a problem. It would be the same as if it was alcohol, gambling, or any other addiction, a drug habit, right? Any of those habits that create other bad habits or other bad behaviors have to go. Just does. Because I'm not going to shift who I am because of who you are. It's a boundary for me. Now, if you're not there, I respect that. But for me, that's non-negotiable. I don't want to be that person. There was a situation where I had somebody in a very professional setting and come and say something to me that was very out of pocket and ill-placed and poorly timed and just inappropriate. And, I could have really done the thing. I could have met that Melissa energy you guys sometimes hear on Careers, Chaos, and Coaching with Felipe, where we're bantering, and I can get upset. But why? In that moment, there was no need to add fertilizer to that. I didn't want it to grow. And that's something you have to remember, guys. You're going to write your story either way. And the people who read it in 20 years don't care about the small details, because if you didn't have every single bit of that documented, the timeline, the pictures, the photographic evidence, they're not going to believe you. And if you do, they still may not believe you. Let's be serious. And so it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It matters who you are when you're done, right? And in my opinion, this is all my opinion, but I think that's a boundary for me. I will prevent myself from behaving like the person I've grown away from. And Jay, I am stepping into your shoes. You're welcome to do that. I understand that you feel that's your required action, and that's cool, but it's not for me. And so you brought it up. I just want to address it. I just don't align with that idea, because nobody else should determine who I am or how I act but me. And while it is easy to meet people's energies where it is, if their energy doesn't align with the energy I'm trying to hold inside of myself, I will bounce away. I use this analogy. Aaron Gibson and I talk about this a lot, about being a bubble, right? And when we get into emotional turmoil, when we get into these moments where it can be aggressive, we become bubbles. You have to be soft and fluid and floaty and non-aggressive, transparent, right? You're full formed. You are you. You're taking shape and you move at will. But at the same time, when a bubble comes up against a bench, something hard or something pokey, right? Something that it can pop itself, break itself against. You will either watch it, give to that, and it disappears. It vanishes. It stops being a bubble and it turns into something I no longer see and can put my mind around. Or it resists that surface tension and it floats off. It removes itself from the bench. You see it almost bounce off this invisible shield. And that, for humans, is a choice. When we're determining ourselves as a bubble, we get to choose. Do we let them break us or do we float away? And I would rather remove my circle from your circle than have us clash. If we overlap, that's cool. But if we clash, we're breaking ourselves for what purpose? And the ROI always has to be there, right? And so that's where I would be on that mindset. Money habits. Let's jump in real quick. Expenses you track but never correct. Guys, if you look at your expenses and go, oh my gosh, DoorDash every month, but you don't uninstall the app, if you don't grocery shop for things that you can make at home that look like the things you keep ordering, if you don't remove your credit card from your tap to pay, right? There's a lot of ways people are watching money disappear, and you have to not just track it, but make the change. We were just in a leadership meeting, and it was some really top performers in the organization I'm working for. And they said, as good leaders ask why. And as a coach, I was like, oh, wait, let me raise my hand. And I was like, and after the why, we ask the who, what, where, and when, right? Who's responsible for this? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to tackle that? When do we come back to track the results and review what we're doing? And so making sure you're asking not just what's wrong, how it's wrong, where it's wrong, but all of it. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Pricing you keep too low to feel safe. Coaching is one of those things that people struggle with. Okay. I'm sorry, I had to get a sip of water. People will ignore free coaching, ignore it, and not opt in. When I was charging $25 a session, I would get people, but then I had to chase them. When I charged $125, $150 a session, the caliber of people who showed up were better. And I don't mean this in a like human quantitative value, but the student ready at the desk, pencil, paper, notebook in hand, like just ready to go. It changed. The more I charged, the higher the quality of student was. They were ready to dive in. Now, I have been told by people I've coached that are super high caliber people that I should be charging 4 figures an hour, $1,000 minimum to talk to me. And I'll be honest, guys, I think for me, that just seems like something I can't wrap my brain around. I don't think that the value isn't there. I know the ROI is. I know what I've done in business. I know the hundreds of % increase over last year. I know how, even now, where I am, we're doubling and doing things. And I can't really talk about what I'm doing in their business, but it's so good. And I could charge the money because the value would be there on the back end. However, I would rather have a bigger net of more students ready with their pen. Now, I do have some pretty high caliber clientele, right? And that's cool. And the names are there. I love those who document and act and get it done, and I don't have to chase them. But I really feel like those mid-pack people, those middle performers, the ones who know how to get work done, but they just still need a little bit of that accountability, that push, that elbow. Those are my favorite people. And so pricing, right? If I say 0, not enough people show up. The people who don't see value in free, right? You get what you pay for, people, they won't opt in. Even when those same people tell me to charge 4 figures, they won't show up to the free session. I had to find my middle ground. If I go too low, I am working too hard and not getting enough ROI for myself, my time, my energy, my takeaways. I want you to think about yourself. I don't care if you're self-employed, working for another person, however you're earning income. Where is your pricing? What does your client see when they see it? Are you opting in for, unprepared students? I don't mind unprepared students, but they should show up on Saturday and show me they're prepared first. I want to see them in the comment section for a week or 2, 3. Show me they're really serious, and then I'll adopt them. I'll take them. I'll pick them up. I've done it a million times over. I'll give them free once they show me they're ready, right? Once they've gotten into the seat and show me they're a serious student. How do you get yourself in the seat? How do you get your clients in the seat? What makes you sit down at your boss's table for that price? Because the value really is our time being exchanged for money. And I don't care what label you put that on or what tax bracket or IRS, declaration you fill out this year to say how you've earned it. Are you pricing your time effectively? Are you getting the outcomes you want? Are you working too hard with the people who get your time to get them to see the value of your time? And would that time be better spent in a bigger class, a more advanced classroom? Business, mindset, leadership. I don't know. You have to decide this for you, right? But revenue leaks are hiding in plain sight. And this is one of the most overlooked ones, is that you're undervaluing yourself in your career, your business, your life. You just keep giving it away. Where are you giving it away? What is that thing you're giving it to? And are you paying to give it away? That's the other thing. Do you have a subscription that takes hours from your day because you've paid for it, so you're going to use it? Because I'll be honest, StreamYard is a subscription that does take minimum 2 hours a week from my time. Now, that's because I'm streaming live, but it is an app I pay for or a service I pay for that takes time from my life. So is the ROI there? Abso-stinkin-lutely. I get all my clients this way. My actions, being able to repurpose the content, being able to utilize the services to be able to stream to multiple platforms without uploads, great. But if I didn't use it, if it sat there dormant, if it was something that did not bring business, how long would I pay for it? How long do you think Melissa would allow that to go? I look at Netflix, I look at Amazon Prime even. I'm really close to canceling my Prime membership. I don't utilize Prime as much as I used to. I don't utilize the streaming services that stream to me quite as often as I used to because I'm a big fan of YouTube now. I coached YouTube University for 3, 4, 5 years on this platform. I don't even know now. And everybody is there, right? Even me. Go subscribe. I want to, before I move on, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any comments here on the money here. Oh, Mary Kay, welcome. I hope you're still in the comments here. And then networking and collaboration is never costly. It's always free. See, and it depends. I'm hosting this. So this is a fun place to network, but I do pay for this space with StreamYard. I'm doing it in multiple layers, so I had to pay a little bit, but I think you can for free, right? To be in the comments here, to show up in the comment section on LinkedIn especially, is free. You don't have to promote yourself beyond that, but you definitely want to have this balance. I want you to think about the things you should invest in, because the people who didn't take on that coaching at 0% or zero cost also aren't investing in other ways, I would bet, right? When I'm not willing to take free advice, I'm not paying for advice either. Or I am paying for it and I just don't want to muddy my soup. I don't want too many people in the kitchen kind of thing. But I do think that if you're not investing in you, why would others? Is an idea. And then if you're not investing in you, what are you going to have in 10 years? What's left? What are you growing into? Are you always going to be where you are today with the tools you have? Because when you go to the store, do you walk down the aisles and just dream a little bit about what belongs in your house? And do you dream about how you're going to use that toolkit or the mixer? I don't know, right? The juicer? Do you understand what you do with your digital life? Because when you opt into the apps, when you opt into the, free service for 90 days, and then you're going to get this subscription fee, what are the values? Do you actually utilize the tool? Do you do it with intention? Because intentional spending matters. You can retire a millionaire, they said, if you live on 30% of your income. No matter your income, they said. Now, I don't know if the math is still mathing on that. I'll be honest. I don't even know if I ever really sat down to do the math. But that's a really good rule of thumb in business in general. The 30-30-30 rule, right? 30% of your business operating cost should be set aside. That's part of your cost to operate. So for every 100, $30 should go to paying the bills. $30 should go into savings. $30 should go into growth. That 10% remaining, I always recommend going into savings or investment. Not paying yourself. Why? Because those habits of investing in the future, the habits of saving for those days where it's a little thin, the habits of living on just 30% of what you make keep you hungry, keep you stable, keep you growing. Money habits in your business easily overlap into your personal. It's the same thing. What if 30% of your income was to sustain your life, just paying the bills, right? Mortgage, utilities, car, whatever it is. 30% went into savings. 30% went into massages and workouts and gyms and hair and nails and who cares? Perfume, clothing, I don't care. What if you got to spend all of that 30 on you? What if you only needed 20? Maybe you need only 10. I don't care, but think about that. Think about your body, your mind, the things you could be investing in, the coaching, the training, the diet, the nutrition. What is it? I don't know. Everybody has something else. But if you're looking at $100 and going, oh, I just made $100, I want to spend $100, you're going to fail yourself because you didn't. You have taxes. Taxes. That's part of the business expense, but you got to pay your taxes. You have to do the math. You have to really look at your future and see what's happening. And then you have to make sure that it's stable. The foolish man builds his house upon the sand is probably the only thing I remember from my childhood and the few Sundays I spent in church. But it really is that when it comes to your money habits. If the glass breaks and all you're holding on to is little bits and pieces here and there that you've, got stashed away, it's all the coins in the house or something, you're in trouble. Right? You need concrete. You need those bars. You need to build with gold bars. Not pennies, they disappear. We don't even have the penny anymore. Imagine. So think about this. Think about what you're losing right in front of you. Right in front of you. And it can be small things. They always give that $5 coffee, blah, blah, blah. It's always something else. It's really like the coffee. I'm not ever going to be upset you need caffeine to get through your day. I am going to ask you why you're not doing enough self-care or resting on your days off to not need as much caffeine. I ask myself this question all the time, kind of thing. But those leaks are in plain sight. You just have to sit down, assess. It goes back to that track it, right? And figure out what you're doing. Because it's up to you to protect your time, your money, and your energy. I love the comment section, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm trying to read them. It's not my favorite thing to try to do because of my ADHD, but I'm loving these comments. Nick says that's always one of the hardest parts, staying disciplined to savings. Charles says, in my view, the number one things couples should do is have a his/hers account with the set amount they can spend without input from their partner purchases. You know, that's a really great idea too, especially when you're trying to surprise people for Christmas. It's really hard to shop when you share everything. As far as another pillar here, right? And guys, if you're just joining, I just want to welcome you real quick and just give you a quick update. We are doing Face the Facts, Fix the Future. The more you know about yourself, the more you can plan and navigate, right? If you know you are very weak on a certain aisle of the grocery store, you can plan to not need that aisle. You can plan to go everywhere but there. And there's actually something to this I'll share with you in just a second, but go check out documentandact.com. You can learn more about me. Go follow on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I'm on all of them, on Instagram too. I'm also on TikTok, guys. I've been doing some TikToking and yay. Good news is, and I meant to tell you this early, I am going to be uploading a ton of shorts from former coffee chats, thanks to StreamYard, that paid app that I keep using. It will do AI clips. And so I went in and I was doing the work on the back end to create those AI clips, download them, and I'm going to get them batch uploaded. So make sure you're following. You can come revisit. You can get some of those shorts and really dive into what this is. But going back to the grocery store, did you know that when I was on my weight loss journey, really trying to get my life together, I learned that if you just stick to the outside perimeter of the store, you're going to shop the most efficiently, effectively, and most of the healthy things live there. Most of the most natural things live there. And so just facing the facts, stay out of the aisles. Don't go down every aisle when you're in the grocery store. If you start out on just the perimeter, you're going to do really well. And the only exception I make is the water aisle, because usually it's not on the perimeter of the aisles. And so I will go down the bottle, beverage section. But when I was doing that, it was incredible how much less I was spending, how much fresher we were eating, and how easy it was to say no to the little things, because when you're not going down the aisles, it's easier to not see the stuff. And so just think about that. What are those little things you can do in your life, small little things that can make huge impacts? So career decisions, getting comfortable instead of growing forward. This is hard because there are so many people who have been 20-year veterans of their role who are now seeing layoffs. There are people who went to school to be educators thinking they would spend 30 to 50 years teaching and then retire an older lady and with 1 million adopted grandchildren mentally in their brain. That can't. It's just not safe for them. It's not okay. It's not something they can do because the classrooms have changed. There are people who get injured in the classroom. There are fights that break out, and there's more, right? We see it in the news a lot. And so when you're not preparing because you think your career is going to last forever, you're already in trouble. There is no such thing as forever. Everything stops. MTV doesn't even exist anymore. AOL is not it. MySpace, it's there. Facebook owns it. Did you know that? Did you? So think about what that looks like for your career, your plan, what you know today. Even writers, people who have been content and copywriters, ChatGPT really had a ripple in their career, didn't it? I mean, I use it, not going to lie. It helps a lot to get some ideas out. I don't like to use it except for show promo as far as writing stuff. But I do use it. And I do appreciate when it just outlines my thoughts for me, because sometimes I have the idea, literally shampooing my hair today. I already have next week's idea. I went into ChatGPT and said, this is next week's promo. Write it for me. Don't forget my branding. Now I will go in and edit and do my thing, but it's very nice for shows because I go live and I really don't have much outline except what I've put down on the slides to talk about. So for me, that is the one place I don't mind using it. But as a co-author, somebody who's been published in books, and somebody who likes to, talk about you will write your story either way. I'm not letting a computer write my story. I'm not. I'll let it write my promo. No offense to the computer. Shout out for what it does for me. But I want it to maybe be my thesaurus, a syllabus of, hey, can you give me an outline? Maybe it'll be my coach. I actually tell a lot of my clients to use it as a coach when they can't reach me, right? Just asking it, hey, Melissa and I are supposed to work on this, this, and this. Can you give me a 3 bullet point to-do list for each of these tasks? Well, in which order should I do them? And it'll help them streamline. And you know what? I love that because I'm teaching them how to use AI by coaching them to not need me as a coach one day. ChatGPT is not going to replace a coach. It's not. Not really, because it doesn't think for you in that way. It gives you what it thinks you want to hear, and it does a really good job, but it's really bad advice sometimes too. There have been children who have been hurt by it. There are adults who have fallen in love with the computer screen. So you got to be careful with how you use these things, but get comfortable with understanding the boundaries of it and knowing when it's starting to get uncomfortable with the computer, right? I don't want to see my face changed by AI. It freaks me out. I don't want to do that upskill thing. It just, let my face be my face. Now, will I use a filter? Yes, that is still AI technology. It's automatically doing something to my photo that photo editors used to charge for, right? So I acknowledge I use lots of filters, but I don't want it to change what I look like. That's just a me thing. I don't want it to put me in a dress. I want to go buy the dress. I promise you I want to buy the dress. I'd rather buy the dress all the time. No question. So get comfortable, but get comfortable setting those personal boundaries in your career as well. I don't mind using AI. I will not let AI replace me in my career. I will let it reinforce me, but I will not let it replace me. And the only way it can is if I'm not upskilling, because it's only as good as what we've taught it, right? And so as long as I can stay ahead of the game, I can use my hands, I can use my brain, I can think on my feet, I could do all of these things that it's not doing yet because it's a stagnant screen right now. It does not act without prompts. I can proactively act, right? And so when I stay proactive, I'm already doing better than it is. Avoiding skill gaps that limit movement. This is not just ChatGPT. This is technology. This is your industry. This is changes. For example, one of the facets of business I'm in is the motorcycle industry. I run a very niche retail store, high-end gear. You're looking at a couple $100 for a jacket that will protect you if you fall off your bike at high rates of speed. It can go to the multiple of thousands when it comes to a helmet or gear that we sell. It takes a lot of understanding of the technology, the equipment, how it's used, the different riders, the different terrains, the different atmospheres, the temperatures, the different safety ratings, different features on each device and how they would function with a bike or a human or the track or the outdoors or whatever it is. There's all these different things that I needed to learn just to run this one business, which I've run businesses, right? So running a business, it's no problem for me on the back end. I can optimize performance. I can improve your numbers. Any numbers you give me, I can figure out how to improve them. I don't care what it is. But the gap fill for me was understanding motorcycle gear, understanding safety, oils, parts, different years of bikes, different ways they work, the difference between a sports bike and a V-twin engine, the different facets of our organization and how they each serve the different riders that we're serving and how we do it nationwide. And it's really neat. But without that, I would limit my capabilities of the back end business because I can't grow the business as I have, which has been exponentially, guys, without understanding the product, without understanding what I didn't know. I still don't know enough. I'm still doing videos every day when I'm at lunch. I hate eating in quiet. That's something you should know about Melissa Houston. But beyond the misophonia, I love going to our YouTube channel that corporate has created for our riders. And I watch all the same videos they're showing new riders, right? How to change your oil, how to change your spark plug, how to put a new chain on, different bikes and what they look like and how they handle. Why do I need to know these things? Because people need that knowledge when they come into my store. Because I am a tool, a resource for them. I am somebody who's still a consultant no matter where I stand. And I'm only as good as the knowledge I have at my fingertips, in my brain, repetition, right? And so it made me feel really good when I'm known on LinkedIn for coaching and glitter and bubbles and stuff, right? I'm known for yelling at Felipe on the internet on Sundays, every other Sunday, which tomorrow's our show, guys. But I also had Felipe call and say, my son rides a motorcycle and it's Christmas. I need some ideas for gifts and what are motorcyclists needing? And I was able to immediately give him 3 to 5 items where I'm like, you need this, 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 and this. Now there's an overlap there. That is something that I can take anywhere, right? Not just the fact that now I know motorcycle gear, but I take the story of I had no idea about this industry, which is not really true. I had no idea until I knew. I did work in another motorcycle shop with my father-in-law, helping him a bit, but it was short stuff, not major, not in depth, not like this. And so being able to tell a future employer or client or, professional here on LinkedIn that, listen, I didn't have that skill, but the skills I had were strong. And I told them I have always been able to learn the product anywhere I've worked. I've always been able to opt into fun and passion. Fun and passion is an easy one on this industry because that's all this is. And so I found a way, even in the interview, to gap that. So I didn't limit my movement, right? And so you have to just be careful. I've also had businesses close from under me. And there was a skill gap there, and it wasn't even intentional. I was just so busy, I didn't ask the right question. I knew the right question, but I forgot to ask it because I got too busy. And that goes back to the slide we talked about earlier. If you guys are just joining us, I just want to remind you, letting distractions override your priorities, watching the bottom line. Don't get so busy trying and doing that you forget why you're trying and doing, and you forget the bottom line. It all comes full circle. That's why I love a good Venn diagram, guys. We have to keep focused. We have to stay on top of this. Another one, and we're going to probably touch this a lot tomorrow during Careers, Chaos, and Coaching, but team problems. Those issues everyone sees, talks about, I had 2 options in here. You can tell I actually wrote this, but doesn't address. They know it. They talk about it. They huff at it. They look at it on Monday and go, oh my gosh. And it's probably why they get the mindset they do on Mondays. But nobody does anything. The only way they address it is with the eye roll, but nobody takes the accountability of, okay, we understand what's wrong. Who's responsible for fixing it? Why does this matter? What can we do about it? When are we going to make it happen? It has to be something that you are always focused on. Not just the problems, but the solutions. Not just the solutions, but the timeline. Not just the timeline, but who's in charge of it and who's going to hold that person accountable. And it's silly. Guys, you would think that it would be easy. It would be easy if you've learned a business and you can do this, right? It would be easy to be able to say, I've done this a million times over and it's not a problem for me now. That's not true. What happens is business leaders do really well and then they get busy. And then the busier they get, the more they miss. The more they miss, the more it's talked about behind their back because they're missing that conversation in the side eye too. I have worked in so many organizations and with so many organizations as a coach where I come in and I'm just watching the animosity and I'm watching the leader give their spiel and tell me all about the organization. And while everybody's looking at the boss, I'm watching the people. And I'm watching the faces the boss is getting without the boss understanding because they're smiling and at me, but I'm really doing like a glance around the room and realizing there's a huge problem here nobody's talking about. So the first thing I do is go, okay, so what was that, guys? And I clear the air. Coach Carrie says ChatGPT is wrong a lot. I use it for writing, but I'm a better writer. I do like the cartoon avatars it makes. I haven't done the cartoon avatar in ChatGPT a lot. I have asked it to tell me what it thinks of me. Like, tell me what you think I look like based on our interactions. And one time it sent me a picture of me that was man, probably 30 to 40 years old with glasses and a short brunette haircut, fit, strong, almost like a Superman pose with the way his arms were crossed. But I was like, why am I a guy? What is that? I was like, I'm a lady. My name's Melissa. Hi. And then they came back and also gave me a cartoon version of me having a robot at a desk, almost like an assistant, and just saying no M dashes because I hate them, and all of the document and act, and just like sticky notes everywhere and color everywhere, and it was fun. But I'm a little nervous about having it do too many images for me. I really don't want to lose that part of myself and the fun of it all. Let me see. Are the people just don't? Okay. I love having a niche market. Coach Carrie says it makes me a better service provider as a licensed financial coach. It really does matter, guys. It matters to get the right tools and resources. And I'll be honest, if you come to me about financial stuff, I'm going to make you write it down. I'm going to look at it with you. I can see where the bleed is. But the truth is, once I identify that, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to do any more financials with you. I really don't. I will tell you, go get a coach, go get an accountant, go get a tax planner, because the truth is I am not all things. I am the beginning of all things. And that sounds way too big-headed. Hold on. I am the starting to-do list person, right? Like, this is the entry form spot. This is where you sign up and get your name tag and tell people who you are at the networking event kind of thing. Because truthfully, while I can coach you through the steps, at some point, I do want you to outgrow me. At some point, I am really focused on that new, young, fresh growth that's trying to break through, that hasn't gotten there. And sometimes that's the career shift, right? Sometimes that doesn't mean fresh human, just fresh goal, fresh concept. Maybe you did career last cycle with me, and this year you want to do mindset. You want to do branding. You want to do something else, right? You want to be challenged. You want accountability, whatever that is. I just want it to shift, because if we're still teaching the same things, I feel like we have a team problem. If you haven't figured it out in the first couple sessions of the premise, write it down and then act on it. I'm nervous for you, right? Melissa uses elementary education concepts. I do it because I want it simple to start. I don't want it to be hard for you to get moving. And so you have to decide what that looks like for you. And once we get the clarity, I can hold you accountable. I can push you. But at some point, I want to push you into the next person's zone. I still don't mind helping with new things, but I'm hoping that one thing we started with has moved on to the next level. You should also be having that conversation with your team. If your team is not functioning at a level where you can promote them, are you telling them that? Are you telling yourself that? Because I asked the question a few episodes ago of, would you hire you for your life? And the truth is, if you don't feel like you're the most equipped person to run your life, then you need to assess why. You need to ask yourself what's wrong with your current team. And if you are the problem, and if your team is just you, and let's just pretend for right now this is you, right? Our team is us first, and then we pick extras. We're the coach, we're the head one, we're team leader, captain right here. What are you failing to provide to your team just by being you? And it's a hard conversation, guys. I'll be honest. It is a hard conversation to tell the truth about what you're lacking in your life, in your mindset, in your professional career. The tools that you're lacking because maybe you're not doing time management well. Maybe your finances are a wreck. Maybe you don't even know where either of those things stand because you just haven't even looked. You're hoping nobody's mad at you, but you're not really sure if you missed the meetings or not. Right? These are things you need to talk about first with yourself. And then if you can come to your team and say, hey, team, listen, and I'm going to use me as an example. I have arthritis in my hips. Doing up and down on a ladder all day to climb the very large helmet wall is not my favorite thing. I'm also very short, guys. I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a short person. I am 5'4", but I still feel very short compared to the 5'11", 6'1" people that I work with. And they also have very long arms, which I feel like, yes, proportionate, but it's unfair to be short and have short arms. And so bad legs, short arms, short stature. My least favorite thing is having to climb up and down the ladder all day. I'm also afraid of heights. So I tell my team, listen, do you have an issue with heights? Are you worried about ladders? Just so you know, I'm not a big fan. These are the parameters I have, like my legs. I'm not supposed to climb ladders technically. And also, I'm afraid of heights and I'm short. And so it feels really big up there. If you don't mind, that's something I'll ask for help with from time to time. And I just set the boundary. And then I say, are there any tasks in your job that you don't like? Or are there any jobs that you've done before you really didn't enjoy doing in the facility you worked in and you don't want to do here? I can't promise, but if you tell me, I will definitely try to delegate around it. And some will say, I hate doing the bathroom. My mom made me do it as that was my only chore at home. And so it's my least favorite thing. Okay, cool. I don't mind cleaning a bathroom. I don't mind doing that if you help me with helmets. Is that cool? Boom. It's not a problem. It would be a problem if it's, hey guys, hey, can you, hey, can you, but I didn't reciprocate. I didn't offer a solution back. I didn't hear them on what they needed help with. Does it make sense? Also, if you're not having this conversation with yourself, who's going to have it? If you're not having the conversation with your team and you're the one noticing, who's going to have it? Jay says teamwork involves trust, honesty, flexibility, and the ability to stay in touch with members in case something happens. And that's true. And sometimes we have to be the one who sets the standard, especially if we don't see it there. And that's something that as a coach, as a person in a building, anywhere I've ever worked, I don't know if you'll believe this about me, but I've been unable to keep my mouth shut and not share an opinion when I thought something didn't sit well or something could use a little extra push or something needed that extra dash of whatever. You know, somebody said, make sure you're asking the why. And I was like, and also the who, what, where, and whens. If you're not speaking up, will other people ever have that conversation with themselves? Maybe they don't know to even think about who, what, where, when, why. They forgot that concept of elementary education. Maybe it's been so far gone, they couldn't understand how that would overlap today. Me speaking up may do that. It's also the standards we stopped enforcing. If you're not hearing what you want to hear in the room, are you just negative in your head? Poor me. This place sucks. Nobody ever. You're literally the only one thinking about it, and you're the only one not going to bring it up to make that change, right? I saw Be the Change earlier. That's one of the things I hung in our bathroom for the kids to watch every day as they got ready. And it's something I still believe in. It's something my grandmother put on my heart forever ago. Be the change we want to see in this family, right? Losing arguments to yourself. Just make sure the right side of you is winning. And if not, bring in a mediator. I think that's where coaching comes in handy, guys. When you're stuck between shouldn't I, or I start out the day with all these warm, fuzzy feelings, but by the afternoon, I'm kicking myself in the teeth and I'm my own worst bully. You got to have help. You know, if I start out the day really well with an omelet and I'm eating healthy, and then by lunch, I'm just eating like a whole pack of mini Hershey bars or something, I'm in trouble. Right. And so you have to set the standard. You have to start enforcing it. You have to know when you're getting hangry and remove yourself. I have had conversations with friends or family or whoever it is where I'm like, hey, listen, I have anxiety. I have PTSD. I am very triggered, upset, shaky. I feel it in my voice. I need 2 minutes to breathe. I'm overwhelmed. Can I come back? Can we pause this conversation because I'm not myself and it's not you, it is me, but I know I need to take a break. Having that conversation is not easy. It might make somebody look at me like, okay, weirdo. I don't care. At least I'm just a weirdo and not an insert here, right? There's a lot of other expletives that could be inserted there instead of weirdo or, man, she's a little dramatic or whatever. But if I come back and I'm calm and I'm like, thank you, I was just a little shaky. I couldn't calm my brain. I just needed to catch my breath and I couldn't while I was trying to keep up. Right? Because sometimes when we get into those problems, whether it's team, personal, yourself, with others, whatever it is, you get rattled. And people who are rattled don't always think clearly. What makes you really good in an emergency is being able to not become like emerged in the emergence of the situation, right? Like you don't want to become the emergency. You don't want to opt into that. You want to be the anchor in which calms it. That port in the storm, so to speak. And if you're not creating that environment for yourself, there is no way you're going to be able to create it for others. At least in my opinion. Don't be upset at me. If you figured out a way to do it for others, even when you can't do it for yourself, let me know. And let me know how that works for you because I haven't been able to do it. Not by myself. Not long-term, not without others still having an effect, even sometimes taking the break, right? If I have to take too many breaks too often because I can't figure out how to pre-calm myself before the meeting or start in at a 0 and set at a level 5 when I get into the meeting so I'm not at a 10 in 2 seconds, right? There's a difference there. You have to prepare for that. I will never go into the meeting where I know it's going to be a hard conversation while I'm also hangry. While I'm also already stressed out, while my shoulders are up to my ears and I'm freaking out about life, I don't want to go in and have to have a hard conversation on top of that. That goes back to something we talked about earlier, which personal boundaries and why we need to make sure we're not letting it have us say yes when the capacity is gone, right? We need to schedule for our yes. We need to have a space in our system where we can plug in that time without bending or breaking ourselves or our boundaries. And then we need to make sure that we do not let those moments take us outside of ourselves. The distractions, the chaos, the emergencies that come up because they do in business all the time. You have an upset customer, a delayed delivery, somebody's sick, the economy changes, all these things happen. You can't let it change who you are in business. You can't let it change who you said you wanted to be for these people that are entrusting you as their leader. And if you are the only person you're entrusting, you're still the leader. And you have to do right by yourself because you're holding yourself to the fire. You need to make sure that the outcomes are what you want, and you need to be kind to yourself since you're putting in all the work. You cannot be mean to your only employee and expect it to do well in business, right? If you're treating your one employee like crap, you're doomed. They're going to leave. And if you are the one employee, wait till you fire yourself. It's a terrible feeling when you're like, that's it. We're giving up on the brand. We're giving up on the business. I'm going home. Go get in timeout. Go put yourself in bed. Right? Have you ever had a timeout? Tell me about, I'm going to take a sip of water because I need it, but tell me about a time you put yourself in timeout. Also, if you want to come on stage to talk about this topic, definitely welcoming people. Just message me on LinkedIn to get there. I'm not focused on any other platforms messaging right now, guys. We're talking face the facts, fix the future. Was there a time where you had to face something in your life to make sure it didn't happen again? Something that was real and hard to overcome. Something I did was quit smoking. I used to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, and I have not smoked for 11 years now. That's one of my face the facts. If I keep doing this, these are my outcomes. And I fixed my future. I'm going to take that sip. Let me know if you want to get on LinkedIn. I'll be right back. Whew. Okay. So guys, good morning, Gabe. I have to tell you, Gabriel, he really made my morning so nice this morning. I popped on LinkedIn. I had a tag from him, and it's like, oh, what did Gabe say? And so I start reading, and my face just started to turn up in this big smile because he is former client. He's somebody that I was thinking I was going to help him with his brand. He had a plan for a show he wanted to do and some conversations he wanted to have on the internet. And without giving too much of all of that away, it was just very much a, how do I have this conversation online on a professional platform? And I was like, look, if Dr. Ruth could say the word sex on LinkedIn, you can too. Like if Dr. Ruth can get away with putting it in the newspaper, even back when, you can too. And we started having the conversation there. And then that led into, oh my gosh, this guy is a mess in his dating life. And sorry, Gabe, but you've said it out loud, so I'm going to say it too. Guys, I'm not calling him out on anything he hasn't owned publicly already. But he was just like owning his stuff. He had some blind spots. He had some things that he was doing, and he fixed it. And he really faced the facts on it. And it just was the perfect time to see that kind of testimonial, to know that like his beautiful wife sits next to him and does the things he had been planning and talking about even then. Gabe, I'm so proud of you. Like, I just wanted to tell you, like, I feel like a teacher who sees the student come back after they've moved on and done the thing. So good job. But anyway, guys, go read the testimonial. I shared it. It's on my coaching page. It was just fantastic. But leadership blind spots, guys. Feedback you dismiss too quickly. This one, it made me giggle because I have watched bosses who have paid me for, four figures, like $5,000, to sit inside their business and tell them what went wrong. So I would listen, ask the questions, and just watch them go back and forth. And what I realized was every time somebody gave really good feedback, the boss would be like, well, and immediately I knew the problem. Just as soon as the boss started to deflect, explain, dismiss, just, oh, I have a solve for that. Oh, this is why. And just kind of like, it's almost like the icing on the cake. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where the boss, have you ever seen it in a movie or experienced it in real life? Where your boss or your leader will just, and you know the dismiss is coming just by the sound. It's like they're icing the cake of no. I watched that in business so often. I was in a networking event that I almost walked out of the room like 3 times, guys. I don't usually do that. I usually can ride or die a networking event, even as bad as it could get, until the end. But there was this one I was in not too long ago that made me just want to keep getting up. Everything about it gave me ick. And at the end, I made it through. The speaker shockingly asked for feedback. I was shocked that this person wanted it. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's hope here. And what I realized was the same thing started happening. As soon as some valuable feedback came about, hey, it's a networking event, we should have more time to talk amongst ourselves and introduce ourselves to the room, shut down, explained away, blame, shifting the topic, distraction. And I was like, dang, how are you going to ask for it and then not take it? The same way that leader did in the meeting. I'm asking the right questions. I'm making sure the conversation can take place, because that's all that usually needs to happen is conversation, guys. And they just forget to have it, or they don't know which questions will open the door to get the conversation going. So I'm good at that. I can do that. Right? And then I assess the response, because you can't have a solution without understanding the problem. And I don't understand the problem until I ask the questions, and not getting an answer doesn't hide the problem. It usually spotlights it. And so ask yourself, what are you dismissing in this conversation? How many of the things have I said? Did you go, yeah, that's not me, or yeah, whatever. Yeah, this. I'm talking about my life, but I'm wondering, do you do it? Do you talk to you about you? Do you tell yourself what you really know? And then do you not just figure out the why, the how, what, where, and when you're going to fix it? Who can help beyond you? If you are the problem, maybe you can't be your solution. And that's a truth. That's okay. That's literally being able to look over your shoulder and go, dude, you can't see that all the time. You need somebody who can watch that because your eyes have to be forward. You can't be the person watching your blind spot because every time you look over your shoulder, you give yourself grief for not having seen that thing all of a sudden. The habits you have hurt trust, and that includes with yourself. If you're constantly questioning your decisions and not able to make a choice because you're not sure which way to go, that's a habit. You do the same thing over time, it's a habit, right? Anything repeated. How many bad habits do you have? How many good ideas do you have you tuck away? How many of them come back to haunt you on this day? There are habits in relationships. There are habits in business. There are habits online. The way you behave in the comments says a lot about you on the internet. Matter of fact, it's one of the first things I do when you want to be my friend on the internet is go see how you behave. It could go back to a decade in background screening. It could be offensive for me to say that to you. And if it is, I would reflect on why you just got upset that I like to research who I'm connected to and protect my space. But it's because I want to be a bubble. I don't want to engage with people who want to just fight. I don't want to engage with people who come and harass. I don't want to engage with people who come and spam all the time. I connected with somebody who looked really good on paper not too long ago. The profile was active. It checked all the boxes. Connected, got a personal message. I thought that was really cool. This person has messaged me every day since then. No response from me. Thanking me for all my engagement and sharing their post. It's like they're spamming me to support them. I don't know them. They don't even know I'm not engaging or they don't care to know. They haven't customized the message. I'm sure there's 3 or 4 versions of it to, try to skip the spam bots, but it's spam nonetheless. It's a blind spot for them. We could have done great business naturally. I would have put them on my stage had they been authentic in the way they communicated. I'm happy to elevate people who do it right, but as soon as you show me you're doing it wrong, that hurts my trust. I don't trust you now. You're literally marketing yourself as a please force this. Now, there's a difference between knowing somebody and sharing it, going, hey, Melissa, check this post out. I wrote it about my weekend and we're going to talk about it tomorrow, right? Like a Felipe shares something with me. That's cool. I know him. We collaborate. We do things. We're going to give each other heads up or whatever. But this other person, I don't know him. He wants me to support him in a way that I don't have time for with my friends. It's hard to find that time. And so it hurt the trust. Are you doing this in your life? Have you done this to others? And then decisions made without enough data. The first time he sent the message, I was like, he could just be excited. He could just want me to see the content. It might be all about glitter and sparkles and bubbles and stuff, right? We talk about people messaging on LinkedIn and making sure you craft a message that lands and resonates and is tied back to the person. And that's cool. So I didn't make a harsh decision the first time when it felt spammy. I was like, oh, that's a little different than I would want. But I waited. I got too busy to respond, and I was going to come back. I still have quite a few to come back to, and I do it on a weekly basis. It's my boundary. But then he just kept doing the same thing. And then the verbiage would change just enough to thank me for this engagement I'm not giving. And I realized we don't have authenticity here. And that can't stay. Something I am very serious about in my brand is if you are not authentic to what you say you are, and you don't have to be me. You don't have to be anything like me, but you have to be what you say you are and have marketed yourself to be, because the bait and switch doesn't work, right? It has to match. And so I want to make sure that people in my network are who they say they are. And there have been people who have been removed. As soon as they show me they're not that person, I back away and I set a boundary. And that's because I don't want them to be a blind spot for me. I have watched background screen after background screen, fraud, embezzlement, theft, internal, external, all the things that happen when you fail to screen appropriately, when you fail to just monitor. There's a reason they audit the books, right? There's a reason that churches will, large churches especially, send their pastors on sabbatical for 6 weeks. It happens so that they can audit and edit and make sure everything's on the up and up and that there's no blind spots. Tax people, same thing, right? Corporate will ask them to step away to make sure the accountants, they should be audited also. How many times have you seen in a movie or a story or a headline or whatever that, oh, I lost all my money because they embezzlement, they stole it. My accountant ran away with it. This person took all my money. You can lose anything. You can have trade secrets going out the back door. You can have employees stealing your clients and, doing it that way. There's so many things. It could be a pen theft ring, right? You could be selling them on the street for 25 cents each, and corporate doesn't understand why we're running out of pens all the time. It could be your time. It could be your behavior. You need to make sure you're watching, you're asking for feedback, you're looking over your shoulder, you're double checking your math, you're getting somebody else to come through. Even as somebody who was a certified background screener who did it for almost a decade, who could do it faster than most, I'm very efficient at what I was doing. And I still, being the top of the person, the poll, the whatever, I would say, please double check my work before it goes out. There was always a 2-person touch before any report left my building because humans make mistakes, including me. I have blind spots. My eyes scan quickly. Sometimes I miss it. I did it in one of my slides today. I had an extra word in a line that I created. I think it's this one. Yeah, issues everyone sees about but doesn't address. It was supposed to say talks about or, sees but doesn't address. It was supposed to be one or the other. And here I am making mistakes. If I would have had a second set of eyes, that would have been prevented. That's a simple thing, guys. But using spell check, having somebody double check you, having somebody come in, coach or consult, and just do an audit. Do an assessment with your team. You might have a monthly, a quarterly check-in, and that's cool, right? You might have all of that covered. I've heard it. Oh, no, we do that. We do that internally. Well, guess what? People don't always tell the internal people what they tell me. The internal people are only asking the questions they know to ask. And if they've never been a coach, if they've never been a consultant, if they've never had to come in and do it from the ground down, then how helpful are they? Truthfully, like how good of an assessment is it? How good of a workout is it if I'm giving you the workout versus the personal trainer who went to school and has done it for a decade? I'll be honest. I can't name all my muscles. I used to be able to. I kind of know. I could probably guess. If you gave them to me in multiple choice, I'd probably get a really good grade. But I'm not the person who needs to be putting your workout plan together. I'm not that one, right? That's a blind spot for me. And if you don't know that I don't know, then we're both in trouble. If you're running a business based on only what you know, only what people you know are telling you from the outside, but nobody comes in to sit down and look, if you keep trying to present yourself as this really cool business person, but you're actually not making ends meet, you got to ask yourself why. What is that blind spot? Anytime I've looked around and went, hey, I'm not selling coaching, my time wasn't being invested in the marketing. I was doing late to the table marketing for my events that usually draw the traffic into my coaching. I took breaks. I was working on a different business. I just didn't want to. Sometimes I did it intentionally. There were other times I did not, especially earlier in my career. I was making decisions on the fly, reacting, fire extinguisher style, not actually trying to figure out where the flame was coming from, just putting it out every time I saw one pop up. It's like treating the one ant but not looking for the hill, right? Killing one wasp doesn't fix the nest. It doesn't move it. It doesn't change it. It just gives you more to do later because you're just taking care of little things. It's like a Band-Aid on something that needs surgery. But being open, being willing to take that, being willing to set the boundary of I'm going to ask for feedback and I'm going to sit and take it. I'm going to put myself in timeout at the table and get to work, just listening, just writing down what they say, even if you don't agree with it, right? Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all of these companies that do taste tests, they take the good and the bad. They look around and they hear, oh, that's too salty. Oh, that's too sweet. Oh, that's too spicy. Oh, that's cold. Oh, that's hot. Okay, great. And then they ask, what would make it better? Because if you assume it's too salty, means use less salt, but they really meant they wanted something sweet, they wanted both, then you're going to get it's still too salty, because they don't know to tell you it's not sweet, right? And so I just want you to think about what it is that you have heard recently from somebody about yourself that you need to maybe assess. Maybe you dismissed it too quickly. Maybe you heard it and went, nah, I don't like the way that feels. I'm not putting that shirt on. What are those things that you refuse to look at? Because I know we all have a drawer or a closet or a doom box or something, a pile somewhere we need to go through that we don't want others to see, right? That we tuck away when company's coming over. Could be the garage. You don't leave the door open because it's a mess in there. The guest room. Everybody likes to throw the extra decorations in the guest room. What are those things in your life? Lead yourself out. What are those things in your life that you could change? What are those blind spots you have in your career, in your relationships, in your communication with yourself? Because these are the things that change it for humans. When I coach, I'm coaching on all of these things, right? Patterns in your life. I want to see where your behavior is. I want to see your schedule. I want to see how you spend your day. I want to look at your post history. I want to look at your comments. If you're telling me you want help with digital online persona, I want to look at it. If you're telling me you want help with business, I want to see your books. I want to see your team. I want to see your reviews. I want to go look at your bathroom. I want to know, what do they see when they walk in? What do they hear, smell? I mean, I get all of those senses out, and I really try to be part of the team. If I was here every day, what would I experience? What am I taking in? One of the things I did, and it's not really a facet of what I like to do, but I enjoyed it. So maybe that's not true. Maybe it's not something I offer. But when I went into one huge organization, it was in a firefighters association for one of the states in the United States. They do all the training and development for new firefighters. And so I was teaching their team some leadership development, transition, how to upskill to get to the next level, how to pass the torch from one hand to another, going from typewriter to digital world kind of thing, right? And when I was looking around, I assessed everything. And one of the things I noticed was their workspace made them very much feel like they were in a fishbowl. Anybody who was newer, younger, added later to the team, they created kind of like this workspace in the center of the room. There were office spaces for those who had been there a long time, but all the lower level employee, the entry level employee, were inside that center space. And so for me, I was like, that's not fun to just look up and see your boss staring at you all day. And then I was like, what is the environment? And so I started asking for like a walk around, and I got a digital walk around the room. And I just said, well, what if we did this? What if we put firefighters on the wall? What if we, and I really just like, let's inspire them. Let's move them away from staring at each other, and let's re-engage the space in a different way. And what it did was give them a little bit more privacy. It moved the people who are constantly talking and distracting away from each other, because that was part of the problem too. Not only were they in a fishbowl, but they had one kid who was like at their work table. Think elementary for a second. I want to be respectful, but imagine having one student at your table who's always like, hey guys, look at this really cool pencil I got. Hey guys, look at the clock's going really slow. Hey guys, because that's what it felt like for one of them. And the person who was there feeling that needed a resolution. They wanted out. They wanted to fix it. But how do you tell your boss, I don't want you staring at me all day, and I don't want to sit next to Sally because they talk all the time, without Sally getting in trouble? You have to be careful, right? There's a way to communicate this, but if you have a pattern, write it down. I came back from lunch and Sally interrupted me 8 times in an hour, right? Just every time Sally says something, put a little hash in the corner of the paper. Every time you're interrupted while you're at your desk, just put a little hash, just for a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is, Monday, Friday, the worst days. And then do it on Tuesday through Thursday also. So when we go to your boss, you can say, listen, on Monday and Fridays, I'm interrupted 30 times an hour on average by everybody in the room. Tuesday through Thursday, when you guys aren't here, I have 2 interruptions an hour. If you can do that, you're quantifying it, you're taking the patterns, you're showing it has an effect. You have those receipts, you can have the conversations. And then once you understand what the problems are, and you know, and you're having the conversations, you can talk about how it affects your emotions, your calendar, your relationships, your energy levels. It affects everything. It gets to a point where when I was in the office and I had to work in the office, I was begging for remote work at that time, because it was a decade ago, 2015, just before that. I was begging, please let me go work at home. It's quieter there during the day. I can get so much more done if I'm not interrupted. And I was told, nope, it's not an efficient way to work. Nope, I want to make sure you're working. But the amount of interruptions I had were so vast that I said, then I need a personal space. And he had to literally drywall a spot off so I could have a room. And he did. And when he did, my output increased. Then I had to create a sign, because my space was in the back, not far from the bathroom in the break room. It was the last stop before you went into more of those private spaces. And so guess who came to hang out? Or guess who would stop with their coffee and say hello? So then I had to make a sign. Please don't stop here. I'm working. Those patterns, the need for me to have to constantly find ways to hold myself accountable in spite of distractions I had brought to my boss, frustrated me. And I wasn't upset about it. I was a leader. They wanted my input. They wanted to have the conversations that really he should have been having with them. However, he wasn't, and they wanted it, and they knew I would be the first one to address it with him, because I would find my words if it was a problem, especially if it kept me from my work. Because I would know, listen, every day they're telling me you're this problem on this day. Stop it, because it's my problem on this day then. And I would address it. I love, I'm reading some of the comments, but David Pushkin says data-driven decision-making, and it really is important, guys. You have to face the facts, and you can't face the facts without reviewing the data. You can go to your phone and see what it says as far as how long you're spending on different apps. You can go to your different apps and see how much you're spending of cash or Bitcoin. You can see your steps. You can see your sleep. You can see what you've had to eat if you want to calculate all of that too. But without the documentation of it all, without writing it down, without capturing the data in those apps, without actually reviewing it, you're letting it grab it. But how often do you actually review the data it takes? You bought a Fitbit. Do you review it? You have an app for your bank. Do you go in for more than the balance? Do you look at what your spending is? They give you your spending in most banking apps. I've asked so many of my clients, does your bank account show you a summary? And they say yes. Think about what you're not tracking and then ask yourself why. If you know you're going to be mad at yourself later for this, why aren't you preventing that? Because the emotional patterns leave clues too. When I was growing up, I always knew that the first part of the month was going to be mom's going to take us out. She just got her income. She was on Social Security. There wasn't a lot there, but I knew once a month she wanted to take us to do the things she wished she could do all month long, all the time. She had a pattern. She also then would go out and hang out with her friends because that's what she wanted to do all the time. And she finally had the money to do it. And then when that weekend was over, there was nothing left. And the rest of the month was a struggle. There wasn't a lot to start with. It wasn't like she went and spent a ton. She might have spent $30 at Denny's for some eggs and bacon and stuff, right? It's not a big deal. But there was a pattern there. And we knew it. And then we knew what the rest of the month would look like. If you know there's a pattern, we're going back to last week's slides now. This is where it overlaps. You got to track it. You got to study it. You got to grow it. And when you track, study, then you can go. That document then act matters. If you don't track it, you're going to basically be in that stream we've talked about where you've pulled your oars in and you're letting it take you down the flow of the water and you don't know what's coming. You don't know how fast you're going. You may not even maybe you fell asleep. If you do that, that's a choice. But if you do that, you can't complain later when you crash. You can't complain later when you are going beyond where you meant to go, when it takes you miles off track. Because if you're not tracking your actions, if you're letting life take you anywhere, if you don't have boundaries for how far you're going to go, when, where, how, all those things, right? It's going to bite you. If you accidentally fall asleep in the boat because you're too darn tired because you're burnt out from doing the other things, the ripple's the same. Doesn't matter the why you got there. It really doesn't. And that's the hard part, guys. The why doesn't matter in the moment. The why matters when you're in the fix. After you stop the bleed, that's when they assess. Even in medical response, they don't care why you're bleeding at first. They stop the bleeding and then they figure out how it happened, right? They might ask you, but they're still stopping the bleed first. So the first thing you have to do is pause yourself. You are your own bleed. Whatever the problem is, I'm going to say it's us, right? Me first. Any problem I have starts with me because I can choose to leave the problem, solve the problem, hire somebody to fix the problem for me. You have to decide when you can say yes. Even if I just say, I can't do this today, but in 2 weeks, I'm starting this process. I am 2 weeks away from a solution that I was forever away from yesterday. How do you reflect? When do you reflect? How often do you look down at a list and go, oh my gosh, half of this stuff isn't even mine to tackle? How did I end up doing the things that I hired other people for? How did I end up doing things that aren't even related to something that is a goal for me? I'll be honest, one of my biggest time sucks, and it always sneaks in, is I love games. I love puzzles. I love to play. When I was in staffing, it was always Candy Crush. I had every version there was, and over lunch, I would just play till my heart was content. after work, I would play. That was how I was winding down, was to keep my brain just busy and distracted. Love it. But I also remember back then that I could spend a whole Saturday, 10 hours, because I had 4 apps. If I'd run out of lives, I'd just grab the next version. And I would keep going. And by the time I was out on the last one, the other one was refilled, and I could just keep going. And I did. And I'm not mad at it. It was self-care in some ways. But now, LinkedIn games, very first thing in the morning, they'll let you play one time. Every day you get to play their games one time. So I do. I still have other games I like to play on my lunch. There's a couple, again, strategy, very comparable to Candy Crush. They're still there, but I try to minimize how often I play. The problem is they have those ads. And what I know about me is that distraction of the ad, I watch the game and I'm like, okay, that's a cool game, whatever. Just get off my screen. I want to play. By the 10th, 15th time I've watched this ad, I'm like, I want to play this game. I want the sand to fall into my little glass jar. And it's so silly because it's nothing but a time suck. Nothing. That game is nothing but a time suck. But there's something about it, because it has been there so much, that if I'm not focused, that distraction can override the other. Because if I have more than one game I play on my phone in that time, it could turn into a whole Saturday on the couch, right? And so, simple example, but there are things you do that do the same kind of time suck. And sometimes it looks like a blue little logo on our phone. Sometimes it looks like a professional network. How many hours do you spend on LinkedIn? And what does it do for you? Do you get distracted here? Does it help you set priorities? Does it help you accomplish your priorities? Your money. When I was paying for premium, which I'm not right now because I'm too busy to actually utilize the tools that it gives me, right? I wasn't utilizing it. And that's why I stopped paying for it, is because while I had it, I wasn't using it to its full potential. StreamYard, I am. StreamYard stayed. LinkedIn Premium left. Does it mean I will come back one day? Probably, yeah. I like LinkedIn Premium. I want to do that, but not to waste it. I'm not going to pay for it just to keep a little gold star under my name saying I pay for it. If I don't use it, it's a waste, right? Thinking about the ROI of what I'm spending on, is it worth the hours it took to get my income? Understanding the leak, right? I went to the mall this week. I was in a meeting and I stopped at Cinnabon, and it was $9 for a cinnamon roll, which was whatever. The Cinnabons are awesome, but my husband used to work at Cinnabon, and so I've had my fill of them, and I remember them being a few, like $4 a roll. And I just thought to myself, while I understand inflation, how much time did I spend to have this roll? And was it worth it in that way? Right? And I'm not saying Cinnabon isn't. I bought it. Obviously, I thought the value was there. However, in the future, how many would I want to eat if I know it cost me X? What would be the value if I know that my husband worked for them, to just have somebody like him whip it up, or have me go get that knockoff recipe off of Google and go make it at home? That same $9 might make me 9 rolls. It's the ROI, right? Revenue leaks. Just because you want a cinnamon roll doesn't mean you have to spend $9. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. Not saying don't. Do it if you want. But is the value there for you? Is it in the moment? I actually got to sit in a beautiful mall setting. I was in front of a fireplace that's in the mall. And I enjoyed my little cinnamon roll, and it was kind of cold outside, and it a little bit felt like winter all over again. And it was a beautiful moment, early spring feeling outside, but in that moment, it felt like Christmas. And for $9, I think that's great, right? But I will absolutely be making my next cinnamon roll at home, because I don't need to recreate that moment right now. The value is in the ROI for me. And so just have that mindset for you. What are you paying for? Why are you paying for it? What do you need? What don't you need? Is it something that's transitional or seasonal? There are some customers of mine that put their motorcycle away in winter and they bring it out in summer, right? There are some people who say, hey, during summer, I'm focused on my kids being home. I'm not going to do any coaching during summer because I'm too busy and we're on vacation and we're traveling but come winter, that's all they do is because they're hunkered down and they get depressed and they don't want that seasonal depression to sink in. And so they get to work. Those things that they're insecure about, the things that when they see others accomplishing, they're not, it makes them feel something. They tackle that. It becomes a to-do list instead of living in jealousy, instead of living in fear, in doubt, in imposter syndrome. They start making a list that helps them move away from it to grow forward, even if it's just getting away from those feelings. It doesn't mean you have to be super successful in all things, but just get comfortable being yourself and accomplishing the goals you set out and having a new one every day, right? A new to-do list brings new results. If you're going to clip anything, clip that. A new to-do list brings new results. Because if you're doing the same things, it's not going to work forever. Everything is evolution in business. You have to evolve. You need to keep some of those pillars consistent. The quality needs to go, the customer service, the care, but you can evolve your products. The top 5 businesses in the United States, like the food products alone they carry, Frito-Lay is huge and it's diverse. But they have a set standard of certain things that are non-negotiable when they start something, and that's what makes it easy for them, right? And it makes it easy to cut the crap too. When something's not showing the ROI they thought, they get rid of it. It's a limited time thing. They kill it off. They bring it back. They have fun. Sometimes they do it terribly just to see what the customers would say. And like, I wonder if it was just a board meeting where somebody said, hey, they complain about everything. Give them something to complain about. And then they send us out the worst pickle chip ever, or like those jelly bean flavors that nobody likes. There's marketing behind it, though. People get those every flavored jelly beans from Harry Potter, and they'll get the gross flavored ones and still buy and pay for that experience. Right? Be willing to change directions. Be willing to have some fun. Don't wait for permission to do something silly like that with your own brand. Also, Mike LeBlanc. This is why they got mad. I said LinkedIn or something. They got mad at me. But go to YouTube and subscribe, guys. It's almost the end of the show anyway. You should be doing this. But, I'm not going to be comfortable. I want to get over there on YouTube. I want it to last forever. I want it to keep moving, and I want to make sure we're diversifying, because if something goes wrong, if it doesn't work on one platform, you got to move on to the next, right? And we cover a lot of topics on careers, chaos, and coaching, which is tomorrow. I'm looking at it, but also here on Coffee Chats, we just get a ton going, right? Life coaching encompasses everything. And that's what Saturday morning is about. And so I want you to really sit down with your own Venn diagram, your own circles. Put everything on paper. What is your career looking like? Make it a circle. Put a couple bullet points in there. Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly about it. What's good about your career? What's bad about your career? What's ugly? What's really bad? And if you can do that, just simple, 3 dots for each of these pillars. You just sit down, clip it in your life, say, I'm going to take this snippet, this clip, and I'm just going to review my career, my mindset, my confidence, what's good about it, what's not good, the good, the bad, the ugly. What's ugly about my confidence? Am I cocky? Sometimes you got to self-reflect, guys. Sometimes I can sound too big for my britches. You heard me earlier in the show say, wow, that made me sound way too big-headed. It didn't all start with me. The statement I made almost made me feel like I was trying to take this creator God persona on, and that's not it. I create some ideas and concepts in my brain, and then I share them with you, right? But that's a pillar for me that I review, the good, the bad, the ugly of my confidence. Where am I being too cocky? What am I not aware of? What blind spots do I have as a leader in my confidence, or, my alignment with people? The good, the bad, the ugly, let's talk about it. You could do the same with your relationships. There are friendships out there that maybe shouldn't be friendships anymore. There are people in your life who shouldn't be giving you business advice. There are people in your life who shouldn't give you relationship advice because they don't have a relationship. They haven't had a relationship that's been successful in a long time. There are so many things you need to assess, but you need to assess it with you first. And if you haven't had a good relationship in a long time and you're giving yourself relationship advice, you might want a second opinion. Just let somebody bounce those conversations, with you. Make sure you're not alone in these thoughts and make sure that it makes sense to others, because sometimes we get so deep in our head, we have convinced ourselves of things that don't really align or work. Right? There are people out here who think if they just show up in every room all the time, given an intro, that it's going to fill their bank account. And that's not it. There's some work that comes out there. Once they know your name, you got to do something with that. Once they are in your network, you have to network. Once they're networking with you, you have to have an ask and you have to have a clear offer. There are things you need to make sure you accomplish if you want to do certain things. And you got to make sure you're constantly on top of that. Because if you're not, you're going to shift away just a little bit at a time here and there. And then in 6 months, you're going to go, I'm not making any money and I don't know why. And I'll say, well, are you doing the things you said you would? Or did you get distracted and just change up the to-do list to be busy work, not beneficial work? Because there is a difference. And if you're not sure, then that's where you need to get a coach or a consultant or go ask ChatGPT. It's not always right. Okay, we know this. It's not. And I love that. Coach Carrie said that earlier. It's not. You have to fact check it. As a matter of fact, I tell it sometimes, dude, you're being generic. Stop sounding like you're a robot. This is not even cool. It's not good. It's like, you know what? You're right. Of course, you're going to tell me I'm right. I'm paying you to tell me I'm right. But then it will refresh. And so don't just take what the first answer. Either ask the who, what, where, when, whys. Ask it, why do you think this is the best approach? If it says, here's the copy, ask it, why is this the copy? What made you think this instead of this? And push back. You can do this for yourself. You can do it with help. You can do it with somebody else. But don't struggle too long in any one setting. If you're working with somebody else and you're finding that there's no ROI there for you, assess why. Are you doing the work they're telling you to? Are you showing up? Are they asking you to push? Or are they just listening? Is it therapy or is it coaching? Is it consulting or is it just complaining? There's so many ways you can approach this, and I've heard some horror stories, so make sure you're doing the right things for you. And if you need me to help, I have a $100 clarity session for new clients only. One focused hour to get clear and plan what comes next. It works for anybody. I don't care where you are, any stage. I've done it all, guys. I started my career in sales and I've worked from there. I have run businesses for the owners. They handed me the keys and their bank account and let me go. I've had lots of successes and I've had some not so great experiences. We've had to close businesses. And you know what? That's okay. It all taught me something. It gave me clarity to make sure that I know how to move the next time. Sometimes we just need somebody who's been there before to do it with us, to show us. So that's what I want to offer. Also, if you need some training and development for your team, if you want your team to activate on LinkedIn, I'm offering that too. And I'm offering some really cool coaching offers here. Sorry, my brain just blanked out. For individuals who have coached with me, this is still an offer for you. You can use this LinkedIn Power Up for $125 for 30 minutes. We'll do your headline, your about section, posting tips, give you a 15-minute follow-up session just to see how it's been working with the plan. And then I can do the same for a business team coaching. I do the same $125 per person, but we'll do 90-minute virtual session. So think about it, guys. Also, write down some stuff. Think about what I've asked you. What's working, what's not? What do you want to change in your life? If you could do anything, what would you fix? Face the facts of it. Get to work on it, and your future will be better. I'm going to get out of here. I hope you come back next week. And then tomorrow, Careers, Chaos, and Coaching with Felipe. Make sure you're following. See you then.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open door. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight